A former nurse has described WA's ramping crisis as inhumane. She's demanding action from the Health Minister, while the state's nurses warn the lack of resources could soon cost someone their life.
Recovering at home, 84-year-old June Raxters worked in hospitals most of her life. A nurse for more than 40 years, now she's blowing the whistle on the ramping crisis at Fiona Stanley, having experienced it firsthand.
And as a nurse, I just couldn't believe that anybody should have to go through this in this day and age, in this so-called first world state.
Last month, June was sent to the emergency department after suffering complications from a medical procedure. But when the ambulance arrived, she was forced to wait 9 hours in a corridor, along with dozens of other patients, because there were simply no beds available.
I felt totally neglected, forgotten, not cared about.
And separated from her husband Gordon because of COVID restrictions.
Both my daughter and I, as we were sort of going home, we both had a similar thought. This might be the last time we see her.
During June's 9-hour ordeal, waiting on a stretcher in a corridor here at Fiona Stanley, she says she repeatedly had to ask for pain medication and no one could tell her how long it would take to be seen or even what was happening. The grandmother says the conditions were inhumane, with no toilets, and she had to ask for food and water. She was eventually seen by a doctor after 11 hours and released the next day. June has since written to the Health Minister twice demanding action, but says she's had next to no response. The Nurses Federation says the system is simply beyond breaking point.
Nurses have told me that things are getting to the point where we are going to have some tragic circumstances arising through nobody's fault, but simply a lack of resources.
In a statement to 10 News First, the Health Minister says he never wants people waiting as long as June did to get treated, with Fiona Stanley sincerely apologising and acknowledges the need for improvements.
We'll never go into the ramping system again. I'll come home and take my chances.
Natalie Forrest for 10 News First.